Good afternoon. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. India-Russia annual summit in New Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hopes for peaceful resolution of Ukraine conflict. President Putin thanks him for the efforts. Russian President Vladimir Putin accorded ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. India-Russia explore opportunities to expand cooperation in trade, defense and technology domains. Indigo airline crisis continues. Around 500 flights cancelled in Delhi on Friday. RBI cuts repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25%, says growth inflation balance to support growth momentum. India and Russia signed several memorandum of understanding in the field of healthcare, medical education and science. Other agreements that were signed include food safety cooperation, MOU on training of ships operating in polar waters, exchange of information on movement of vehicles. Leaders also adopted joint statement and agreed to work on economic cooperation program till 2030. Addressing the joint press statement, Prime Minister Modi said, in the last 2 decades, President Putin has nurtured India-Russia relationship and elevated mutual relations to new heights.
पिछले 8 दशकों में विश्व में अनेक उतार चढ़ाव आए हैं। मानवता को अनेक चुनौतियों और संकटों से गुजरना पड़ा है और इन सब के बीच भी भारत-रूस मित्रता एक ध्रुव तारे की तरह बनी रही है। परस्पर सम्मान और गहरे विश्वास पर टिके ये संबंध समय की हर कसौटी पर हमेशा खरे उतरे हैं। आज हमने इस नींव को और मजबूत करने के लिए सहयोग के सभी पहलुओं पर चर्चा की।
Prime Minister Modi said that agreements have been signed in the field of trade, investment and security. He added both sides have agreed on economic cooperation program till 2030.
आर्थिक सहयोग को नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले जाना हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है। इसे साकार करने के लिए आज हमने 2030 तक के लिए एक इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन प्रोग्राम पर सहमति बनाई है। इससे हमारा व्यापार और निवेश डाइवर्सिफाइड, बैलेंस और सस्टेनेबल बनेगा और सहयोग के क्षेत्रों में नए आयाम भी जुड़ेंगे।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Russian President Vladimir Putin at Hyderabad House in New Delhi this morning. Ahead of the meeting, both leaders shared a warm handshake. Prime Minister Modi and President Putin held bilateral talks in Hyderabad House, New Delhi. Leaders held detailed discussions aimed at further strengthening bilateral ties between the nations. Prime Minister Modi said India and Russia shared long-lasting, time-tested bonds.
एक्सेलेंसी, आपकी यात्रा बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक है। 2001 में जब आपने कार्यभार संभाला और भारत की आपकी यात्रा पहली हुई, उसको आज 25 साल हो गए और उस पहली यात्रा में ही स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की एक मजबूत नींव रखी गई थी। मेरे लिए पर्सनली भी खुशी की बात है कि आपके साथ मेरे परिचय को और संबंधों को उसको भी 25 साल हो गए हैं। एक्सेलेंसी, मैं मानता हूं कि ये जो 2001 में आपने जो भूमिका अदा की, एक विजनरी लीडर कैसे सोचता है, कहाँ से शुरू करता है और संबंधों को कहाँ तक पहुँचा सकता है, इसका एक उत्तम उदाहरण भारत रशिया के संबंध है।
Speaking on the matter of conflict in Ukraine, Prime Minister Modi stressed India is not neutral and stands on the side of peace. Prime Minister added that the conflict should come to an end through dialogue and diplomacy.
एक्सेलेंसी, यूक्रेन के संकट के बाद हमारी लगातार चर्चा होती रही है। आपने भी समय समय पर एक सच्चे मित्र के रूप में हमें सभी चीजों से अवगत कराया है। मैं समझता हूं कि ये विश्वास बहुत बड़ी ताकत है और आपको मैंने अनेक बार इस विषय की चर्चा भी की है और विश्व समक्ष भी मैंने रखा है कि विश्व का कल्याण शांति के मार्ग पर ही है। हम सबको मिलकर के शांति के रास्ते तलाशने चाहिए और पिछले दिनों जो प्रयास चल रहे हैं, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि विश्व फिर से एक बार शांति की दिशा में लौटेगा। एक्सेलेंसी, पिछले दिनों विश्व समुदाय के सभी नेताओं से जब भी मेरी बात हुई और उन्होंने जब विस्तार से मेरे चर्चा की, मैंने हमेशा कहा है कि भारत न्यूट्रल नहीं है, भारत का पक्ष है और वो पक्ष शांति का है। हम शांति के हर प्रयासों का समर्थन करते हैं और हम शांति के हर प्रयासों के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिला करके खड़े हैं।
And Russian President Vladimir Putin praised Prime Minister Modi for what he called Prime Minister's special personal attention towards finding a solution to the conflict in Ukraine.
I could share a great deal of details about the events taking place in Ukraine. We are taking together with some partners, including the United States, on a possible peaceful settlement. Thank you for the attention aimed at finding a solution to this situation. Our relations are deeply rooted into history, but it is not the words that matter, it is the substance of the matter which is very profound. We really appreciate that and the fact that you, ex-Prime Minister, pay special personal attention to that.
President Putin also said there are growing opportunities for cooperation between the two nations in high-tech sectors, including aviation, space exploration and artificial intelligence.
As our countries and our economies move at more opportunities for cooperation, we open additional areas for cooperation, including those related to high-tech, aircraft, space exploration, high-tech and artificial intelligence. We have very close and trusting cooperation in the military and technical area, and we are planning to move forward in all of these areas. This once again underscores the level and the trust of our relationship. Our teams have done a great work before this visit.
Earlier, President Putin began with a ceremonial welcome at the forecourts of Rashtrapati Bhavan in the national capital. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Draupadi Murmu received the visiting dignitary. Russian President Putin also laid a wreath at Rajghat in Delhi, paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi during his state visit, marking a key ceremonial engagement ahead of the bilateral talks. In an interview with an Indian TV network, Russian President Putin was all praise for leadership qualities and statesmanship of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. President Putin said Prime Minister Modi is not someone who succumbs to pressure easily. The Indian people can certainly take pride in their leader. He added that his stance is unwavering and straightforward without being confrontational. The Russian president also complimented Prime Minister Modi's leadership. He said our collaborative endeavors with Prime Minister Modi carry significant weight because they transcend our mutual ties. President Putin further said, ensuring stability in key areas of engagement is crucial as it helps secure fulfillment of objectives. He also said both Russia and India value bilateral ties. It is at a different level, different quality of relations that we have with India. We value this. We see how India values this relationship as well. Putin said Russia is not simply selling defense technology to India, but it is sharing it with the country. It is a very rare thing to see in the sphere of military technical cooperation. Speaks to the level of trust between the two countries. And host of areas where engagement is taken forward between India and Russia. President Vladimir Putin is on a two-day state visit to India. This is day 2 of President Putin's visit to India. He held talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi earlier today. They also delivered the joint statements where different agreements, areas of engagement and cooperation was taken forward. DD India correspondent Amrit Pal Singh would be joining us for more of this. Amrit, we just scanned through the various agreements that have been exchanged between the countries. It speaks much about how the traditional areas of partnership have been consolidated and new areas like tech and emerging technologies cooperation also being introduced.
That's right, Shubhendu. The president said that, the focus, if you look at the agreement signed and the press statements of both sides, Prime Minister Modi and President Putin, the focus clearly was on economic cooperation and investment and also technology. There were other slew of agreements signed, training of personnel and shipping and polar waters, etc. But the main focus essentially was, joint production, labor mobility, trade and investment in each other's countries, and taking the economic cooperation to that ambitious $100 billion, which is not really ambitious given that you already are doing about $70 billion of trade. So by 2030, now over the next 4 years, taking it further. Of course, the two sides would have discussed. India would have, put its position of opening of Russian markets for Indian goods so that the trade imbalance can be corrected. Russia broadly is on the same page with India, does not have problems with that. So the focus of today's talks clearly on strengthening economic partnership in already existing areas and adding new areas of technology, of emerging technologies there.
Right.
Shubhendu?
Amrit, stay with us while I also bring in DD India correspondent Akhilesh Suman. Akhilesh, taking forward the conversation we were just having, there is a economic cooperation program till 2030 that has been a sort of roadmap has been laid out. One of the important components is going to be a certain migration agreement where skilled workforce from India could go to Russia and work. Could you shed some light into how this cooperation will work out and what is in it for people of Russia and India?
So Bendu, as you know that India has been doing a migration and mobility agreement with various countries, and now Russia also has joined in. One of the major concerns between India and Russia was that some of the Indians were going there in Russia and were joining the Russian army, and then their return has become a big problem. So in that way, in background, it was a thought that, okay, let us formulate an agreement so that people are going to Russia, they should be in the work for which they are going there. And in that way, it will be a great contribution to Russia because Russia is lacking in some sort of manpower, skilled manpower especially. And if Indian, skilled manpower goes there, 1 million Indian might be used there. They require from various countries. So if this requirement is fulfilled by India, it will be a great contribution to India's unemployment situation. And in that way, I think that this is one of the major, confidence building measures also that Russia is going to believe on Indian workforce, and that will also, give us back the people who go there, the people who go in other countries, they send their money back to India also. So in that way, it will also, good for our own economy. So it is a new area that has been ventured between India and Russia, and it also shows that what type of economy we are moving inside. One of the major examples I will also give you, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that India will give free e-visa without any fee. Free e-visa to 30 tourists of Russia for Russian tourists for 30 days and group tourists for 30 days also. So I think this is one of the
Right.
major announcements because Russians want to come to India, Russians wants to travel to India, and if they are getting free visa for 30 days, it will be a good people-to-people contact between the two nations. So both migration mobility agreement and this e-visa thing will contribute to employment sector and people-to-people relations sector also. So well.
Right. Amrit, this visit is supposed to be a bilateral visit, engagement between India and Russia. It was interesting yet to look at the way the leaders addressed the issue of the Ukraine conflict, India reiterating its point and the Russian leadership acknowledging and appreciating India's efforts.
That's right. Prime Minister Modi was very vocal about it. Remember when at Kazan on the sidelines of BRICS, Prime Minister had told President Putin that dialogue and diplomacy is the way forward. He did not use these exact words today, but by saying that we appreciate the peace efforts, we hope that the peace efforts, we support the peace efforts, and we hope that the peace efforts bear fruit. The Prime Minister sending a message again that dialogue and diplomacy is the way to end the conflict and restore global peace. In fact, he said that that's very, very important for moving on to issues that matter to humanity today by restoration of global supply chains, etc. once the conflict ends. And he said that India is not neutral in this, has not taken a neutral stand. India has always taken a stand, which is a stand on the side of peace. So clearly, Prime Minister reiterating India's position that the conflict should be ended peacefully, and the Russian president acknowledging that, saying that since the Ukraine conflict started, I have met Prime Minister, we've exchanged notes on the Ukraine situation, we've spoken several times over the phone as well. So, and today also during the bilateral talks, both sides in their press statements referred that the Ukraine issue was discussed and the early resolution of the conflict should be done. And President Putin agreed with Prime Minister Modi that it needs to be done fast and also in a manner which is peaceful. Shubhendu?
Amritpal, Akhilesh, thank you for joining us with those updates. Moving on, India's largest airline, Indigo, cancelled approximately 500 flights on Friday in the national capital till midnight for the fourth consecutive day, causing chaos for passengers at various airports who claim that other carriers have increased their fares drastically. Indigo's recent cancellation brings the overall number to cross 1,000. Delhi Airport is the worst hit due to cancellation for the day, followed by Chennai, which has cancelled flights till 6 p.m. IST. Though Indigo has informed the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, DGCA, of full restoration of operations till February next year, also causing concerns for passengers who have bookings for the next 2 months, while issuing apology for the whole situation. In a meeting with Minister of Civil Aviation a day earlier, Indigo attributed the disruption to challenges in crew planning and implementation of revised flight duty time limitations, norms, along with seasonal weather-related constraints. Meanwhile, Delhi Airport has also issued advisory on social media platforms stating full support and medical assistance for passengers at the airport. Union Minister for Civil Aviation K. Ram Mohan Naidu chaired a high-level meeting with Indigo senior management on Thursday. Expressing displeasure, the minister directed the airline to normalize the operations at the earliest while ensuring the fares remain unchanged due to the current situation. The Reserve Bank of India, or RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra-led Monetary Policy Committee on Friday announced its decision on repo rate and other key rates and CRR. The central bank revised its financial year 2026 Consumer Price Index, or CPI, forecast sharply lower to 2% and expects inflation in the first half of next year to remain at or just under 4%. To support growth and ensure liquidity, RBI announced 1 lakh crore rupees of bond purchases and $5 billion 3-year foreign exchange swap. The Reserve Bank of India also slashed its repo rate by 25 basis points from 5.5% to 5.25% amid low inflation and strong growth, marking a favorable economic period. RBI Governor announced that the decision was taken unanimously after a 3-day meeting of RBI's Monetary Policy Committee.
The MPC voted unanimously to reduce the policy repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25% with immediate effect. Consequently, the STF rate under the LAF shall stand adjusted to 5% and the MSF and bank rate to 5.5%. The MPC also decided to continue with the neutral stance.
In sports, the flame for the 2026 Winter Olympics arrived in Italy for a 2-month torch relay around the country before the Games open on 6 February. The flame arrived in Rome after it was handed to the host city organizers in Athens, where the first modern Olympics were revived in 1896. It was carried off the aeroplane by Italian tennis player Jasmine Paolini and President of the Games Organizing Committee, Giovanni Malago. The torch relay will begin on Saturday in Rome. Carried by over 10,000 torchbearers, the flame will travel some 12,000 kilometers over 63 days, passing through more than 300 cities across Italy before arriving in Milan on 5th February, a day before the opening ceremony. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.